Okay, time to get started. This will be my first video, so bear with me. We'll see if I can keep all this stuff together here. Again, this is for beginners. We'll talk about what it really means to be a beginner. And this is it says for COCO 1, 2, and 3. I would say mostly slanted towards 3, but a lot of stuff you could also retrofit back on 1 and 2. So let's what we're going to do here for beginners, again, I'll discuss what I think a beginner is. We're going to write just various routines. We're not writing big programs, elaborate stuff. We're just going to do routines that we can put together and make bigger programs. I'm going to stay inside Radio Shack Basic. It makes it easier for testing for newbies. You don't have to worry about a lot of bit banging and stuff like that. We'll let some of the heavy load over on Radio Shack Basic. Want to avoid stuff like VSync, the PIAs and the video registers and decoding the keyboard. We'll let Basic do that for us. Again, we're not building an award-winning game, just routines to build on and build on and build on to come up with some programs. In this series, some of the routines will be for texting, some will be for graphic screens. Look at some of the programming tools, some debugging tools, or how to use them. Maybe we'll just do one on common errors, and I know I sure got some common ones I make quite often. And some programming tips, include files, macros, and whatever some other kind of tips we can come up with. Again, we'll use basics, routines to simplify for the learner. Okay, we'll use get character, which is like if you're using basic and you do $$ equals N key $. If $$ is equal to quote quote, then that same line number. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to jump over to basic, do a get character, and branch back to that same routine until it gives us a character from the keyboard. The RGB and composite commands. For setting up our graphic stuff, we'll use the H screen command like you would in basic. When you say H screen 2, we're going to be able to do that and let basic set everything up for us. H print the same way. We'll give it an XY coordinate and go off to H print and let us print stuff on the screen and whatever else we may find it in routines. But first of all, I guess we need to move on to the next slide. First of all, you need to have your environment set up and understand. By meaning that, you have to be able to sit and code stuff and assemble it, compile it, whatever you want to call it, get it over to a .dsk file and run it on a machine. You know, until you get there, none of this stuff we're doing here is worth it to you. So you need to get through all that environment stuff and work with it. It might take you a day, it might take you a week, it might take you longer to come up with some good routines, good environment practices. You know, what do you do with the output when you compile it? You're going to put it out into a file so you can look at your code. You just need to get your environment set up where you're really comfortable with it. There's lots of YouTube help out there for setting up the environment. I mean, lots of it. I got two good examples here. One is LongBranchNever. His stuff is very detailed. It's a few years old, but very detailed, and still it all works today. The second one is nowhereman. That's the one I used when I set mine up a few years back. I used his. Later on, I found the other one, LongBranchNever, and I went through it, and it is detailed. But both of them are both good. Plus, there's 10 or 20 other ones out there that have a set up your environment on YouTube. For understanding assembly language, use Steve Bjork's 12-part lesson series. It's on YouTube. It tells you what all the instructions do, examples. It's really, really, he is the Hall of Fame go-to guy for some of the best software games and etc. for the color computer. So, and he's got a good series out there. Look it up and do it. And you can just do a search on YouTube and you'll find many do it yourselves. A lot of them are just hello world, but that's good enough. If you get that environment set up to where you're comfortable, you can go on with this series and have lots of enjoyment learning. Okay, next. Okay, here's what I use. I have run on Windows, Microsoft Windows version 10. I use Microsoft VS Code, that's Visual Studio Code. I used it in the past for a long time writing C# programs. And when I first started, I used Notepad++. And then I realized that there was also an add-on for VS Code, so I switched over to VS Code. I still use Notepad++ for some things, but I'm mainly VS Code. LW Tools, that's your assembler. If you're going to assemble a program, that's what you need. It's very detailed. Instructions come with it. Toolshed, that output from LW Tools is a binary file, and to get that onto a .dsk file, you need Toolshed to be able to get it over there. And for emulators, I use the MESS UI, which is also part of MAME, and also I use VCC. I have a highly modified system, so I do everything with MAME, and to be on the safe side that I'm not creating something for my highly modified system, I'll run around a plain vanilla system on VCC to make sure everything, my changes are within the boundaries. I also have custom programs I wrote in C# for using Toolshed. I put LW Tools in there, I don't know why, because I don't, but for Toolshed for moving stuff from the disk back to Windows and vice versa. I use some programs. And all the unraveled text files, if you don't know what the unraveled files are, they're disassembled versions of all the basics. Color basic, extended basic, disk basic, and super extended basic. It's complete listings with lots of notes in there. You need to get it and look, and it's very, very confusing, but you look at it and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's everything you ever want to know about basic assembly language is in there. Okay, next up is a little bit about me, what I've done. Okay, I started an assembly language program in 1968 on an IBM 1401. That was a machine with like 1 or 2K of memory. That was it. It wasn't a binary hexadecimal machine. It was a BCD, and the registers went up to 999 or 0 to 9. It was 1000. Very antiquated. Mainly reading cards in, punch cards and punch cards out, and paper. Anyway, I started on that. 37 years later, worked on IBM mainframes and network controllers. Always system work, never applications, but always over the systems. And all this stuff was prior to PCs, prior to basic C, Java, Internet, etc., etc. There was none of that. It was just assembly language program. I think there was COBOL back then, but that was about it. In later years, I run a department, quite a few programmers. We had Unix, PCs, LANs. We took care of all that stuff. So I had a flavor of writing and or working with all them different systems. Color computer, I got my first one in 1982, 16K, then a multi-pack, and then 64K, and 2 disk drives, 10 meg hard drive, EEPROM burners, COCO 2s, COCO 3s. And I don't know if they were all in that order, but I just went through every possible thing you get, printers, everything. After about 10 or 12 years, I just sold all of it, got rid of it, and went strictly with PC stuff. Did a lot of stuff on the color computer when I had a lot of OS 9 stuff. I wrote the pack software that was used for quite a few years in OS 9. In fact, it's still out there, but I did that and a few other things. I retired in 2005 after 37 years. You put all them numbers together. Yes, I'm 80 years old, so still going at writing color computer stuff. And I played with some after trying to play with some of the emulators, XROR and VCC, just write some basic programs. So that wasn't that big a deal. My other passion was Corvettes. I still got two of them I work on and play with. Then come along COVID-19. That's when I decided I was really going to get back in the COCO assembly language program and have something to do. And I did. Spent about a year modifying the basic system. And you can read there, it's got pop-up windows, help screens, recall the last 75 commands. I added new commands for basic programs. Double poke, double peek, swap. You can swap two variables like $8, but you put swap $, $B, it will swap them two variables for you. Date stamp into the files, and many, many other routines that's out there. Get into some of that, talk about some of it later on. Now I got a demo of that system. I did that to just show you some of the things you'll be able to do with assembly language. Now I'm not saying you can do it right now. It might take you a year, it might take you months, and never, but you can see the possibilities you can have using assembly language, the speed of it, and that. My system's done. It's intact. It's all out on the MMU pages. You look at the core, it looks like a normal system. I'm going to say from hex E00 up to 7F, whatever the stack is, up around 7F32. It's wide open for basic and anything you want to do. I only take all the interrupts from off the keyboard input, the F1 key, F2 key, clear keys. Anyway, I'll talk about that in the demo that I put together coming up here shortly. I have to patch it into this here, so I'll see you on the other side of this example. All right, we'll boot the system here. It's going to come up, and the very first thing it's going to look for a date. We'll give it a date, satisfy that, and it patches the system, adds new commands, all sorts of goodies during the startup. Okay, we got a lot of things we can do here. Let's look at the dir, and we'll see we got a lot of things out there. With the dir command, you can also do *bin and see. Just look at them files there. Okay, we have that's it. Or we could do we do an ****. It's the same as doing a dir. We'll get them all. Let's look at the basic programs that are out there. Anyway, I think you see what the nicety of that command is. Right, I've programmed the F1, F2, and the clear key to do certain things. The F1 key, I'm going to hit it now, and it just goes back through the last, well, I'll go back through the last 75 commands. So we'll go back here to where we did that command 4 commands ago and just hit enter, and it will go here. And we'll hit it again, back up, and look at the basic programs. So you don't have to keep retyping stuff in. It seems to work rather well. The F2 key is for a pop-up window. You press that, and you pop up, and you get a list of options of things to do. Let's look at some examples. Okay, number 2, the date. Here's what today's date is. You want to update it now? We don't need to. Pop up, and let's look at the palette command. We'll reset it back to stock RGB, because I usually use a different palette settings. All right, so we'll go back into the palette, and we'll run with the modified palette that I normally use. Okay, let's try that again, and we can also go just to the colors, change the background. Let's try a yellow background. And colors again, let's do the foreground. Let's try blue. So now we got background yellow and foreground of that blue rather. Again, I just go, instead of changing each one on back, I'll go to palette and put the modified. Okay, let's go back to one of them way back where, right there. That's what I was looking for. I just went back through 5 or 6 pages. Okay, notice some of them don't have dates in them. When you compile or assemble a program using and bringing it forward to a disk from LW Tools, Basic doesn't have a date to it. So we'll go to our pop-up. We'll press number 3. That's date set, what drive you want. I don't even know what drive we were on, but I'll press 1. I'm guessing it was 1. Okay, it found them 2 files and added a date to it. So I go back a command with the F1 button, and now they have the datum, so everything has a date in it. One that I don't use very much is the clear command. Press the clear button, what width you want. I can press a 4 and go to width of 40. Or I can go to 3. Pop-up doesn't work on 3, by the way. Or I can go back to 8. I think that's kind of everything. Well, I'm going to go to drive 0 here, and I'm going to bring up a file called stars. And this is going to be the first video that will actually go through and see how to code it and how to do your own. What this is a star field. It's 128 stars. Just scrolling at different speeds and different colors. We're going to code that in my first attempt at a video for training. So I'm done now. I'm going to hit Q to quit to get out of there. Clear that. One other item I didn't mention in the pop-ups is number 8, which is view page. You know, on a color computer 3, well, if you have 512K, that's a lot of memory to use, and it's very easily accessible through MMU registers. You have to be very careful, but you can swap them pages in and out for things you need to do. The other commands I have, like all the pop-ups, that's out there in another page. The 75 back commands I have is out there in other pages. There's all sorts of things that I have put on various pages that all interact when you press these things, but you're testing, you need to view them. And that's what this particular command assists you in doing. For instance, if I want to look at page hex 33, I type in $33, and it tells me it's viewable at 2000 to 3FFF. Well, you can't see it here because this command is running and it's got it swapped in. But if you're running under MAME or MES, you can go to them, bring them up, do a Control M and view that page. You can look all through memory, or you can even do the Control D under MAME and look at and disassemble and see what's in the pages. What you put out there, is it what you thought you put out there, and it's in the exact same place. We can't see it here, but that's a very useful command, and I use that a lot in developing and testing. So I thought I'd share with you. That's all. Okay, I'm back. This has taken a lot longer than I expected. I originally thought maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and we're well over 20 minutes now. One thing I forgot to mention, that the pop-ups, they're accessible from BASIC also via user 0 and user 1, if I remember correctly. And a lot of these ideas or things I demonstrated weren't necessarily my original ideas. A lot of them come from Rainbow during the mid-'80s. One series was like a 4-part series called Cooking with COCO. And I believe that's where the flex key was originally introduced and the date stuff. The dir **** was another issue, but I believe you had to load it into memory and whenever you wanted to use it. It wasn't in memory all the time like the one I put together. Anyway, my mission was to show what can be done and perhaps what we're going to do. A lot of this stuff I've got there is way too far advanced for beginners, needless to say, but somebody may be interested in it. And I'm not going to put a video out every day or every week. It's whenever I get around to getting some interesting stuff. And hopefully I get something out there every few weeks, but we shall see. Perhaps we'd have something on COCO Nation or COCO Tech. where we can have a open mic and everybody can, not everybody, but people can ask questions and tell me what I'm doing wrong. So to make it easier, more understandable, which I definitely would like to hear some feedback. And if there's more interest on detailing my system for an intermediate or advanced programmer, perhaps we could have a tech show on that and explain the linkage between all the pop-ups, the other code, and there's a lot of stuff I never even showed or mentioned. I have quite a few routines out there, and I'm going to call them, familiar with the term DLL. Okay, I mean, I got routines that I can call from any program, such as multiply, divide, converting from hex to ASCII printouts, or going from ASCII to hex. There's all kinds of routines out there that's linkable at any time from any of my programs with a few calls. So anyway, I need to end this thing or I'll be running out of memory on my machine. So, well, I will put out something at the end of this here on how to get a hold of me if you want to email me or something like that. But anyway, good luck, and we will see you.